Hey everybody, this is Chase Butiche back with another Witchy Bitch weekly message. So this week I wanted to talk about what makes a girl into a woman. Because I've been thinking about this as I've been writing my book and have some thoughts on it. So I recently kind of realized that I think that there are a few things that make us into women, strong women. And a woman to me is somebody that is in tune with her own internal authority, that isn't needing an outside person, perspective, archetype, paradigm in order to feel okay, in order to feel whole, in order to feel good. And under the system that we've been living under for thousands of years, a patriarchal world culture where men have been given more power in the external world, not now, obviously, times are changing. For thousands of years, though, this has been the case. It has infantilized women, which means we've looked to men subconsciously as father figures, meaning we need their approval, we need their final say in order to feel safe, in order to feel secure. And the reason for this is because under a patriarchal system, there has been no room for women's wisdom. So everything that I come from, the perspective that I come from, comes from this idea that we have this masculine, it's like the Tao, okay, the yin and the yang. Take it back to very simple elemental energies, right? Masculine and feminine energies, which every single thing has in this universe, okay? And it's made up of one. The masculine and the feminine, they are one, and they each need each other in order to survive. But because the masculine energies on this planet have been so dominant, and it has really dwindled the feminine energies, we are in a complete imbalance. We are diseased. This is how disease develops, right? So in order for us to recalibrate and become healthy, in balance, so that these energies can actually be working off one another, feminine wisdom must begin to increase. And the way that this works, I believe, starts with women themselves beginning to trust their intuition. So we have never in our entire lives been taught in school from our parents, unless you had witchy parents, that your intuition, our intuition, is something of importance, that it is something that needs to be listened to, that it is something that can in fact guide you. So the way that I believe intuition is that it's this powerful force that is universal life force energy that is actually working through us, through our bodies, guiding us and assisting us through life. And when we surrender our minds to this energy within us, we actually can begin to be guided to our highest destiny. But when we are approaching life only from rationality, which is of the masculine paradigm, which is this thinking, controlling, which we need both, okay? I'm not saying that rationality is bad. I'm rational. We need rationality. But we have dwindled, the feminine energies have become so dwindled and so stomped out and so negated for so long that they have almost disappeared. And in order for us to recalibrate and remember our worth and our power and to remember ourselves as true women on this planet, we need to begin to tune in to that internal guidance system and begin to trust it. So this is the critical piece in everything that I teach, is that we all have intuition, whether or not we were trained to recognize it for what it is. I guarantee if you're watching this, you're somewhat intuitive, which means that you feel things about people or situations, you get a hunch about it, and it oftentimes comes out to be right. And there's no logical way that you could ever know, right? It's magic. It's the mystery. It's the unseen. It's the feminine realm of sensitivity, feeling, empathy. These are the psychic realms that exist. And it's time that these realms begin to rise so that we can begin to become more sensitized to each other on this planet. And so if you are still, as a woman, operating from a place where you have this intuition and you have this feeling, but you're not acting on the feeling. So, for instance, say, I mean, how many times do we go out on a date with somebody and, you know, I mean, I think this is the story I've heard so many times being a practitioner and a wise woman and a healer, is that, you know, women will go out with these men. The men will have everything on paper. I mean, this is the classic American story, right? They'll have everything on paper, all the boxes checked, and yet something inside of them just feels not right about it. But rationally, they're like, oh yeah, this is great. This is the exact kind of person I should marry. We'll have a great house. We'll have this, we'll have that. And when we constantly deny that inner voice that's guiding us, that's saying, no, this isn't right, which works through us every day in every way, we are negating the truth of ourselves, which is why so many of us, so many people, and I see so many people are lost. They don't actually know who they are because they have been denying their truth of their feeling, right? Their intuition. So I'm going to give you a story about a time in my life when this was really kind of when I just started doing this work, and I kind of really started praying more, tuning into spirit, allowing myself to be guided, which is everything that I teach. And but I had a teacher for this, and I was really trying to getting into this work, and I had gotten back together with an ex-boyfriend. This was like a couple years ago, like now, but I had gotten back together with an ex-boyfriend because I was at a point where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was next for me, and I was scared, and he was an old friend, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. It's always like a new beginning, something exciting we could do together. So we're in the car, we're driving to his, we drove actually from Seattle to where he lived in California, and all of a sudden it was like the evening time, and I was driving, and I just got this deep feeling in my gut that this was the wrong thing to do. And I was driving, it was nighttime. You know, my dad had died, I think, the year earlier, and I was wearing his, this is his chain that I still wear. He's Italian. He was an Italian guy, so he always had this, like, St. Anthony coin that he kept around his neck. So I would hold this, and this is my connection to my dad, and I hold this sometimes, and I pray to him. And I was in the car with my ex, and we were driving, and I felt this dark energy. I was like, this is the wrong thing to do. And I wasn't able to speak it. And I just felt so much fear, and I was silently crying to myself as we were driving. It was dark outside, and I was holding this necklace, and I began to pray internally. And I was like, Dad, please help me. Please help me. I don't know what to do. I feel lost. I'm scared. I don't know where I'm heading in my life. Please help me. So we were driving. We pull over. We're going to go to the motel. We're going to go to sleep. That night, I had a dream that I had actually gotten bitten by a snake. And the snake, I could feel the energy of the snake, actually, the venom coming into my body and actually killing me. And I actually died. I felt like I died in the dream. And yeah, I woke up the next morning, and that was like a super trippy dream to me. I was like, whoa, that really was significant. That felt very significant, because snakes, they represent Kundalini, they represent awakening, they represent all kinds of stuff. Death, is obviously transformation of the spirit. I woke up the next morning, and I was like, I had the weirdest dreams to my ex-boyfriend, and he was like, I had the weirdest dreams. And he was like, I had dreams all night long that you left me, and that this whole thing was just not going to work out, and it was like over and over and over again, these nightmares. And I was like, huh, okay. And we went and we got some breakfast, and we continued along the journey. We actually made it to his house, where I took him back to his house, and we were sitting in his house, and I don't know, something just came upon me, and I was supposed to stay there for indefinitely, and I just got this feeling that was so immediate, and I just said, I have to leave. I have to leave now. I had completely quit my job, I was moving, and I allowed myself, I felt a pull, a deep internal pull that said, get out of here. And I honored that feeling. I honored that feeling, and I left, and I drove that afternoon all the way back up from Seattle to Seattle. It was about a 14-hour drive, and on my drive back, I actually hit a dead deer on the freeway going about 85 miles an hour. Somehow I hit the deer exactly, the deer went underneath my car, under my tiny little Prius, exactly. If I had hit it any other which way, I think it would have killed me. But because I hit it exactly right on, and it went underneath my car, it was already dead, but it was on the freeway, it didn't affect me. And I just, when I got home, and I also found 2 ticks in my dog's head. I just realized I had just escaped. It was like hitting that deer, having that dream. I had just escaped getting completely, like, something really bad happening. Because as you go further and further and further down this path of becoming more honest and truthful and real with yourself, and you begin to honor your own inner voice, you, if you don't honor it and you start paying attention to it, you will feel, things will get louder and louder and louder. And that's what I felt was happening to me. It was like the universe was like, wake up, no. And if I didn't listen to it, I just felt this deep pit in my stomach, like something was gonna happen. Thank God I did. When I came back, everything completely shifted. Everything in my life shifted from that point on. It was like I finally decided to choose me. And when I did, it was like boom, 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 boom. It was incredible. So that's one of the stories. But that's like one of many. But this is really the most important piece of all of this that I'm saying, is that what makes us into women and the witches and the high priestesses, the goddesses, the queens that we are, is that when we hear our intuition, we feel an intuitive hit about something, and we choose to listen to it. Because what happens and what that means is that we become our own inner authority. We are not asking for outside authority, which under a patriarchy has always been the authority of men. And like it or not, as women in this culture, nowadays it's very different. But 30, 50 years ago, men were always the father figures, whether or not they were our husbands or not. Husbands, lovers, the men were the father figures. And this is a lot of pressure to put on men, which they may not even want this pressure themselves. But it was the role that has been cast to them. And the only way we can shift this energy, this imbalance of feminine and masculine energy, is for women to begin to embody their own and become their own inner compass, which means the authority is not to any one external source outside. It is our own internal source. It comes from spirit itself. And what happens with this is that your own self-worth actually begins to increase. It begins to increase because you actually begin to trust yourself. You begin to trust your voice. You begin to trust the information that you're getting, and you begin to become guided ever so slightly. Instead of feeling so defeated, so depleted, and utterly lost, like, I don't know who I am, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know which way is up. When we start tuning inward, listening, becoming sensitized to what we are feeling, becoming awake to the senses within us that feel on a very high, that feel around us, situations with people, animals, locations, environments. We start feeling, we start tuning into that other sense within, that feminine energy within. We start operating from that core. That is what's going to give us to reclaim our power. This all goes for men as well. All of this information goes for men as well. I'm speaking to women because that's what I do, but I also am speaking to men. All of this is for men and women. So that is what I wanted to express today, and this is what I teach in my Witchy Bitch program. So if you're interested in this, please go to my website, chasepetiche.com, and check it all out. And yes, inner authority means when you start acting from your own inner authority, you become the high priestess that you are. So think on that. All right. Love you all.